The search for identity is one of the central themes of the third season of Mike White's The White Lotus. Set in the serene yet paradoxically opulent backdrop of a luxurious, wellness-focused resort in Buddhist Thailand, the characters are seemingly granted the ideal environment to explore and confront who they think they are, while asking questions like, what is the self? Can you form a sense of self outside the expectations of your family? Should material items identify who you are? What if everything that you are is threatened to be taken away? What happens when you repress your true self? Can you construct an entirely new identity and walk away from an old one? Can you exist without one at all?
I never had an identity.
At what point does your identity stop being self-expression and become a prison? These questions aren't just asked through dialogues or plots. Alex Bovaird, the show's costume designer, uses fabrics, prints, and colors to reflect where each character is on their personal journey or where they're pretending to be. In this video, using the Ratliff family as an example, we'll look at how the costume design of the White Lotus becomes a form of visual storytelling, revealing more about the characters than their words ever could. The Ratliffs are the seemingly perfect upper-class family of 5 from North Carolina. One look at them and you feel like you already know their archetypes. Timothy is your typical golf dad obsessed with self-importance and status, while Victoria, his wife, is an eccentric yet ultimately benign boy mom. Saxon, the oldest son, is a classic douchey finance bro with a trust fund. Piper is the quiet and introspective daddy's girl. And Lochlan, the youngest, is still figuring himself out. Since Piper is a religious studies major with a particular interest in Buddhism, Timothy and Victoria decide to spend their family holiday in Thailand. Ironically, they chose White Lotus on Koh Samui, a wellness and awareness-focused luxury resort that caters to wealthy Westerners seeking enlightenment in the most curated, first-class way possible.
Just because people are rich doesn't mean they're not trashy.
From the moment this family appears on screen, it's evident that the image they project matters more than who they really are. In an interview with Tara Maria Gonzalez, costume designer Alex Bovaird said that in the arrival scene, the Ratliffs, quote, were supposed to look like they just stepped out of a Ralph Lauren catalog, end quote. Their color palette, which consists mainly of whites, olive greens, and many shades of blue, is impossibly cohesive. They look perfectly curated, almost interchangeable, as if their clothes were picked not to express individuality, but to maintain a unified image. Everything, from the way they carry themselves to their pristine grooming, reinforces the illusion of effortless wealth and success. It doesn't take long to realize the Ratliff family isn't quite as normal and decent. They're so eager to convince strangers they are.
We're a normal family.
The first one to crack is Timothy. At first, Tim presents himself as a great man, powerful and respected. The kind of father who commands authority both within his family and in his community back home. He makes a point of not taking any sleeping medication, unlike his wife, finds the hotel's no-phone policy ridiculous, and clearly loves being in control. Subsequently, we learned that Timothy was handled status and money and made it into more money.
My grandfather was the governor of North Carolina.
From his clothes, we can read that he has a strong need to project the perfect image. Even in the scorching Thai heat, Timothy sticks to his uniform of crisp polo or linen shirts, beige or white trousers, and a gold day-date Rolex watch. He's on a tropical island, yet we never see him wear swim shorts, hats, or colorful prints. Tim's main color is blue, which feels very intentional. In color psychology, blue is associated with stability, tranquility, authority, and calmness, all the things Timothy wants to project. It's a safe color, worn by politicians and CEOs for a reason. It communicates power without aggression, wealth without flash. But in this setting, it also adds a layer of repression. Tim's insistence on sticking to blues and stiff colors reads as someone desperately clinging to structure, image, and control. Yet after only a couple of phone calls from journalists and his office do we start to watch this great man spiral into utter madness, as he realizes he's being charged with embezzlement and fraud. This is when he drastically sheds his polished image. Along with his signature blues, yellow and other muted colors show up in his wardrobe, as he cracks under the pressure and the looming possibility that he and his family are about to lose everything they own. Yellow, in this case, doesn't feel sunny or optimistic. It reads as washed out, faded, and slightly sickly. It's like the color is draining out of him, just like his confidence and sense of control. It's very telling when his attitude toward the resort's no-phone policy suddenly changes. By willingly handing over his phone, and with it the ability for more bad news to reach him, he symbolically lets go of control. Or rather, he tries to delay the inevitable. In the meantime, Tim starts sneaking Victoria's anxiety medication and becomes more and more unhinged. His appearance dishevels alongside his mental state, like in that infamous bathrobe scene. And suddenly, he's no longer the crisp, commanding figure we first met. Everything he built, everything he thinks defines him might be taken away, and he's losing his mind, trying to stop it. Victoria comes off as a cookie, needy, and slightly unhinged housewife who sees the world through the literal rose-tinted glasses rather than for what it truly is. Half of the time, she doesn't even know in which country she's vacationing.
You want to live in Taiwan?
She's not really interested in exploring Thai culture or mingling with a regular crowd. All she really wants from her holiday is to stay comfortably within the resort's luxury bubble, get some spa treatments, and spend time with her perfect family. Even her clothing mirrors her need for comfort. The rich often use the adjective comfortable as an euphemism for wealthy, as in, we have a comfortable life. And Victoria's wardrobe embodies this attitude perfectly. She's never dressed in tight-fitted clothes. Instead, she's often seen in flowy, luxurious silk kaftans, usually in signature Ratliff shades of white, blue, but also olive green, which is the color she wears the most out of her family.
Tsunami! Buddhism! No!
But while Parker Posey's humorous portrayal of Victoria definitely makes her the funniest and the most memeable character this season, especially because of her character's strong lorazepam dependency, it's important to ask, why does Victoria even need her meds in the first place? What exactly is she anxious about? She casually mentions she dislikes meeting people outside of her bubble, suggesting it might be social anxiety, yet we regularly see her comfortably chatting with strangers and acting fully herself. So it probably isn't that.
Why are you with this middle-aged weirdo?
At first, it isn't clear how much Victoria knows about Timothy's financial problems, if anything at all. She frequently checks in on him, asking if everything is okay, and accepts his lies. But deep down, she knows everything. At the beginning of the third episode, Victoria has a disturbing dream about a tsunami washing away their family home. Yet, when she wakes up, she acts completely unbothered, as if in denial. Victoria actively chooses ignorance and clings desperately to the illusion of her picture-perfect life at any cost. Lorazepam is her tool of choice. It helps her achieve oblivion and numb herself to the truths she'd rather ignore. It's Victoria's way of shutting down her monkey mind.
Let's shut down our monkey mind, yes?
There is even a scene where Victoria is dressed in an orange outfit that resembles a Buddhist monk's robe, which feels like a tongue-in-cheek nod to how often she preaches about family values. And the timing of that outfit couldn't be more ironic. It's when Piper tells her she wants to live in a monastery for a year, and Victoria is visibly horrified. Victoria might be dressed like a monk, but it's her daughter who's actually seeking meaning in life. For Victoria, it's just an aesthetic. As the show progresses, we discover that beneath her humorous facade lies a deeply narcissistic, spoiled, and rotten woman who simply can't exist without the comforts provided by her husband's success and their privileged lifestyle.
I just don't think At this age, I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life.
Subtle hints of her true nature have been there all along, reflected in her earth-toned color palette: olive green, rich browns, and murky deep greens. While these colors may read as elegant at first, they carry undertones of decay, stagnation, and something quietly rotting beneath the surface. It's a perfect match for Victoria, who appears polished on the surface, while internally masking her deeply narcissistic and spoiled character. Saxon enters the season as someone who believes he's got it all figured out. He sees himself as a good-looking, confident bro in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. One of those work hard, play harder types who drink protein shakes religiously and live for hustle culture.
I love working. I love working.
He is sure of his sexuality, convinced of his charm, and believes that happiness means just getting everything you want in life, which in his case means privilege, money, and plenty of sex. Simple as that. His entire persona is built around control, certainty, and being the new alpha man. He wants to be a winner just like his dad. Went to the same school, works in the same industry, and dresses exactly like him too. Blue polo shirts, beige trousers, leather loafers, a gold Rolex. Even his refusal to take any kind of drugs mirrors Timothy's commitment to control. In Saxon's case, however, it's not just admiration, it's imitation. Here's the thing: Saxon isn't actually powerful. He works for his father. He doesn't make the calls, he follows them. And deep down, he knows it. That's probably why Saxon's so desperate to dominate someone around him, whether it's the women in the resort or his younger brother, so that he can finally feel like the alpha man he's so desperate to be. Unlike his siblings, Piper and Lochlan, who are trying to figure themselves out, Saxon mocks self-discovery entirely. He clings to his overconfident finance bro identity because letting go of it would mean admitting he doesn't know who he is without it. And yet, something shifts. The shocking events after the full moon party leave Saxon visibly shaken. For the first time, we see him getting flustered and losing his confidence. The man who was so sure of his identity begins to feel lost and confused. He starts the season believing happiness is getting everything you want, but by the end, you get the sense he's no longer sure what that even means. This shift is, once again, mirrored in Saxon's clothing. The morning after the full moon party, so drunk and disoriented, he accidentally puts on Lochlan's printed swim shorts instead of his striped ones, which is a great visual representation of the previous night's events. From that moment onward, his color palette includes way more muted and pastel orange colors, symbolizing his search for a deeper meaning in life. Through observing his father's increasingly strange behavior, Saxon starts to suspect something's off with their work. And with that comes a terrifying realization. Without work, he's nothing. He's an empty vessel.
I don't have any interests. I don't have any hobbies. Okay, if I'm not a success, then I'm nothing.
This season's overarching theme is religion. While many characters came to the White Lotus to explore their faith and spirituality, Saxon already had his belief system firmly in place because work is his religion. It's where he placed all his faith, structure, and self-worth. But after the full moon party and everything that follows, something cracks. He begins to understand that maybe something in his life needs to change, and what he craves isn't sex and power, but love and real human connections. Piper is the Ratliff who's most deliberately trying to break away from the rest of the family. She's smart, introspective, and takes everything she does seriously, including her religious studies at Chapel Hill, which, ironically, is the same college her mother once attended. But unlike Saxon, who's copying their dad's blueprint to the letter, Piper isn't following in anyone's footsteps. Probably in college, for the first time, Piper's been exposed to a worldview outside the Ratliff bubble, one that doesn't revolve around appearances, control, or money. Her newfound interest in Buddhism feels deeply personal to her. She sees it as something that might offer meaning, happiness, and connection. Pretty much everything she's been missing at home. But while Piper believes she's on a sincere spiritual journey, the show quietly suggests it might still be a version of the classic rich girl gap year.
I've been feeling a little lost.
This internal conflict is written all over Piper's wardrobe. At first, she appears in orange and white tones that align with her interest in Buddhism and her desire for something more meaningful than country clubs and trust funds. It feels intentional, as if she's trying to rebel against the polished Ratliff aesthetic. Orange, after all, is the color of Buddhist robes. It signals detachment, reflection, and renunciation, while white stands for simplicity and sincerity. Her color palette signals her spirituality. But then, there is always a touch of blue. Ratliff blue. Sometimes it's subtle, but it's always there. It's a reminder that no matter how far she tries to wander, Piper is still a part of this family. Without their wealth and influence, she likely wouldn't be studying religion. She might have felt pressured to pursue something more practical, or she might not even be in college at all. So her outfits reflect this push and pull between who she wants to become and where she comes from. It's actually kind of brilliant how her color palette does the talking for her. When Piper explores her spiritual side by reading, meditating, or explaining the meaning of dreams, we see more orange. But the moment she's in more official settings like family dinners or visits to the monastery, the blue creeps back in. Piper might be chasing a simpler, more meaningful life, but her wardrobe frequently reminds us that she's still a Ratliff. By the end of the season, though, Piper realizes that her spiritual awakening might not be as deep as she wanted it to be. Even Victoria, through her lorazepam haze, picks up on this. She dares her daughter to spend a night in a monastery, knowing Piper won't last a day eating non-organic food and sleeping on an uncomfortable mattress. And she's right. Piper isn't ready to give up the comforts she has always known. After all, when she initially told her parents she wanted to move into a monastery, she wore a $900 Zimmermann dress. So it turns out Piper is her mother's daughter. She wants transcendence, but only if it comes with room service. And she finally owns it by ditching her soft orange tones for saturated Ratliff blues. The irony, of course, is that as she finally leans back into luxury and privilege, life is about to strip it all away and hand her something much more closer to the monastery life. Lochlan is the classic youngest sibling, a people-pleaser, insecure and sheltered, all thanks to the Ratliffs' enormous wealth and the emotional walls that come with it. It honestly feels like he doesn't have any real friends and mostly just hangs out with his siblings. This family barely socializes outside of itself, like in that scene when Kate recognizes Victoria and tries to engage her in conversation. Victoria shuts it down instantly. She's not even interested in small talk, let alone introducing a stranger to her family. That kind of insularity trickles down to Lochaln, who seems stuck between Piper and Saxon, between sensitivity and aggressive masculinity, between spirituality and hedonism.
You're protecting yourself with your female side.
At the beginning of the season, Lochlan is almost always dressed in a mix of orange and blue. There is even that scene when he and Piper are lounging in bright orange hammocks. Piper is in an orange bathing suit and Lochlan is wearing dark orange, almost red swim shorts. The image of the bright orange hammock against the still blue water captures exactly where his character is emotionally. He deeply craves affection and attention, which he doesn't get from his parents at all. Timothy works with Saxon and Victoria is too busy with Piper's Buddhist face, so Lochlan's left completely on his own. Therefore, he follows the sibling who can offer him some attention in the moment. For a while, that's Saxon. Lochlan tags along to the full moon party, where he drinks, parties, and throws himself to the Saxon's ethos, believing that mirroring his brother will finally make him worthy of attention. But the night spirals into something messy, intimate, and deeply uncomfortable. All of a sudden, Saxon doesn't even want to look Lochlan in the eyes. Hurt and rejected, he pivots toward Piper. He follows her to the monastery, and after one night there, he claims he wants to move in too. But it's not because he truly wants it, it's just what Piper is doing, and Lochlan doesn't know who he is without someone else leading the way. His search for identity is external and reactive. It's in his clothes too. Throughout the season, his wardrobe mixes the orange of Piper with the blue of Saxon and Timothy, but there is also a notable presence of soft pastel greens, a younger version of Victoria's color. And in the final shot, Lochlan is dressed almost entirely in blue again. Maybe it's a return to what's familiar. Maybe it's the beginning of connection with his father. Either way, after a season of trying on everyone else's color, Lochlan is still searching and not quite sure who he is. As you can see, Alex Bovaird deserves all the awards for this season. Golden Globe, Emmy, even an honorary Oscar, just hand them over. She masterfully weaves character arcs into fabrics, color palettes, and silhouettes. Every look feels intentional, and it helps to tell a story, sometimes before the characters themselves realize it. It's costume design that doesn't just dress the characters, it exposes them. If you've made it this far, wow! Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends who are also spiraling over the White Lotus, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments whose outfits you loved the most. My name is Kasia, and I make videos about TV shows and costume design. Once again, thank you so much for your support. Bye!